Strategic Planning on the National Security Council, author of a great book, The Memo, 20 Years Inside the Deep State, Fighting for America First. Rich, welcome back to the program. And wow, I'm so glad that we got you on because your book says that phrase, America First, which we know our president has touted. Conservatives love to hear it. Any American should love to hear America First. And what did we hear out of Joe Biden's mouth and some of the folks he's now picking? Is that they want to get rid of America First because they think that puts us on an island away from our allies, and it's racist. It's a horrible statement. Your thoughts?
Look, Dan, here we are, Dan. This is episode 5, I think. The deep state strikes back, right? And what we see is this flood of globalists, socialists now just pouring in. You mentioned you're a tandem head of the Center for American Progress, one of the most socialist Marxist think tanks in the world, not only Washington, D.C. And, she just kind of fits a pattern I think we're going to see.
And first of all, she's a woman, and at that nonprofit, the Progressive for whatever ridiculous organization that she heads up there in D.C., it's a huge lobbying group for extremely progressive liberal movement. She exposed a woman's name who was a whistleblower that came out about sexual harassment, and she said it in a meeting with her peers like countless times. And then let's go back to last week's announcement. You got that Jake Sullivan guy that he's talking about for what, national security or something. This is the guy that worked with Hillary Clinton to help create the fake Steele dossier, there he is, and all that nonsense, and push that narrative of the Russian hoax. And JoJo's over here saying, we're going to return the soul of America, and I've got these experienced and tried and true tested people. No, they're a bunch of deep state swamp rats who've been working and sucking off the government you-know-what for decades, and that's who he's picking. Really.
Right. Jake Sullivan is the personification of everything that we were running against in 2016 and 2020, right? I mean, he's Oxford, Yale, he's the Center for the Study of Globalization, he's Strobe Talbot, he's Brookings Institute, he's the Russian dossier. He was the director of policy planning for Hillary Clinton when she was the sex state. I mean, it is literally going right back to zero again. It's really remarkable.
Yeah, it reminds me of exactly why the country turned down a Hillary Clinton in 2016 and went for a President Donald J. Trump. We were tired of the swamp. We were tired of career politicians bringing in these bureaucrats who work behind the scenes. And let's be real, they're the ones pulling the strings, because if we see a Biden presidency, that's a puppet president. I'm sorry. Right. It's going to be these deep state workers who have been there forever behind the scenes in these lobbying groups in the different departments, because they don't get fired. They're there for 10, 20, 30 years.
Right. Look, Dan, when it comes to Jake Sullivan in particular, I have a real concern there because, he's going to be the national security advisor. We have to trust that he's providing true information to the president. And he just spent the better part of the past 4 years lying to us about this Russian disinformation campaign. And I think it really comes into question there, that after having conducted such a horrific betrayal against the American public, how are we supposed to trust him as the national security advisor?
Yeah, he's no Rick Grinnell. And how about how the media has been treating the Biden-Harris camp when it comes to these picks? They are parading them around. They're giving them full airtime when he comes up with these press conferences and his bogus background that says Office of the President-elect, which doesn't even exist. It's not a real office. There is a real transition office, but there is no office of the President-elect. So they're literally lying to Americans when they put that crap on the banner behind Joey when he's up there speaking. Talk to me about how the press, though, is just fabricating lies. They're like, the most diverse cabinet, the most females, the most African Americans. Are they forgetting that President Donald J. Trump had put more people in his administration from color and, females than I believe the last 2 or 3 administrations combined? If I'm correct, I could be incorrect. Pretty close to that, right? 2 or 3. It was Obama, Bush, maybe even Clinton. He had more females and more people of color, whether it be Indian, Hispanic, black, you name it, in his administration and cabinet than the last 2 or 3 presidents.
Yeah, look, I think President Trump has been a very merit-based, a leader. I mean, he is truly colorblind, gender blind. He just picks what he believes is the best person for the job at the time. And I think he doesn't get credit for that. And you and I both know that with the exception of your network, maybe 1 or 2 folks on talk radio, nobody really gives him credit for what he's done, and especially in the foreign policy domain.
Yeah, they just lie to the American public. I mean, I am literally, I've been doing this 20-some years, and I am baffled every day because I got to admit it, 10, 15 years ago, I really wanted to get on a Fox or a CNN or something. Well, never MSNBC. But anyway, when CNN used to be the most trusted name in news, or at least we thought so, and you watch them daily, and then you hear these tapes that came out from Project Veritas, and you hear the president of the network and the reporters and the producers literally saying the word like, we got to push this narrative. We're not covering that type of story. Trump's acting crazy. Let's go after him on this. I mean, they are pushing a narrative, and people just don't, on the left and some independents, don't want to accept it. They literally think that we're crazy for thinking this, Rich.
Right. Look, the president calls it fake news. You and I both know it's propaganda. And the American people are being propagandized by the MSM. And we see that right now going on with with this election crisis, where people are, there are legitimate investigative concerns that need to be addressed. That they are a legitimate journalist organization, would be investigating, and they won't even talk about it. So it's the things they don't tell you that are just as offensive as the lies that they do.
Yeah. Let's talk about your book, and just tell folks, because, you've been in intelligence for a few decades. You know what goes down in the deep state. How deep of what could we be in if we see a Biden presidency and he literally gets rid of this America First movement that President Trump was on, getting us better trade deals, worrying about our borders, our troops, and caring for Americans first, and we go back to this globalist, elitist type of format of government, which we had under previous administrations like Obama, and with Biden, it may be even worse. Explain to them.
Look, in a nutshell, the book is about how people inside the system today, there are good guys inside these institutions that want to do the right thing, but the leadership is so often chosen for the wrong reasons, normally because they're aligned with these globalist financial interests. And so we're constantly swimming upstream inside the system. That's what the book is about. And I think what you'll find is that it's not necessarily that there aren't a lot of us. There are a lot of patriotic nationalist guys inside these institutions. They can never make it to the top, though.
Yeah, because they're not on board with the globalists. And by the way, nationalist doesn't mean you're some KKK white nationalist supremacist like they love to call us on the mainstream media. Because guess what? There's plenty of folks of color and gender and everything else that are patriots and nationalists that believe in putting America first. Rich Higgins, author of the memo, 20 years inside the deep state fighting for America first. Thank you so much for coming on Real America tonight, brother. You take care, okay?
Thanks, Dan. Take care.
Yep. We come back from the break. Check this out. A viewer sent me an email that came from a professor at the University of Rhode Island. This professor had the audacity to tell her students to write about President Trump's lies. Oh yeah, we all know that liberal agenda is being pushed on college campuses. We've got the email, and we'll be breaking it down for you with a good friend of ours when we return. Don't go away.